Good evening, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me again. And if you're watching on replay, hi everybody, welcome. Tonight's seminar includes a healing session for anybody who's feeling a little bit heavy and missing the loved one, any kind of sadness they've got inside, not necessarily about just about grief, but I will be working on that principle, that energy, and that focus right in the heart. So everybody should feel a benefit. And people have asked me, does it actually work in replay? There is no space and time. So if you don't think it works, it won't work. If you are open to it working, then there's a lot of, I would say, proof that it's made a massive difference in a lot of people's lives over the past years that I've been doing these on replay. So for those who have joined me, it's always a pleasure. Always lovely to see Brendan. Thank you so much for always being supportive. Thank you, Gary. There's so many people that join us, and I mean to say that we're shadow banned and heavily shadow banned, heavily. A friend of mine was doing some digging. He's into computers and said, "Oh, you are shadow banned dreadfully." I said, "Yeah, it doesn't shock me at all. Love is now attacked, healing is now attacked, darkness now is everywhere. You can see it within the madness and the absolute bewilderment of the way people are behaving and what is being allowed to present itself as the new normal. It's basically satanic in agenda, in nature, and all its form. So yeah, of course, if you're love, if you're light, if you're healing, if you're speaking truth, then that is, to them, we are the demons. So we keep moving forward, and tonight's hopefully lovely evening will be all about the energy of losing somebody, somebody who's gone home to our home world, the spirit world. So I'd like to share some things that I've learned over the years as a healer. This is probably the number one topic of conversation and of healing and of the spiritual work that I've done in all of these years, because so many people came to me for this reason, either to try and connect to their family in spirit, which I always said I wasn't a clairvoyant, but if something comes through, I'd let them know. I don't see myself as a clairvoyant, clairaudient, clair anything. I just see myself as somebody who just feels, and I have no control over what comes forward. The only thing I do say is I only work with light and love. So there is no darkness, there is no foolery, trickery, skullduggery when I work. It's just filled with love. And how that happens is you cleanse the room like I have tonight. Beforehand, you always cleanse the room so darkness cannot be in that room. So this is a good point for everybody to be aware of. If you keep your room very, very cleansed by sage, Palo Santo, all the good herbs, anything that will smoke the room out in a natural way, it really takes a lot for darkness to kick in. And that's not just from darkness coming in from somewhere, but it's a lot to do with your thoughts and what you're, projecting and what you're calling for. So that's something to think about. So it's just gone 7 o'clock. Welcome everybody. Tonight we're gonna discuss. I've got a few pointers in front of me. We're gonna talk about living with the energy of grief, how to try and heal ourselves from that energy, but more so how to turn it into something positive. And that's what my life's mission was as a healer. So I think I'd like to start with a story. There's so much to talk about, but I think I'd like to start with a story. Um, the story I wrote down here was a memory of the guilty feeling of losing a loved one. And this was particularly touching for me. And it was a story of a lady who came to see me, and she was nervous and very sad. And extremely guilty in nature. I could just feel the energy of this. And I started by asking her to sit down, and I placed my hands over hers and started feeling what felt like a husband in spirit. And I said, there is a beautiful soul here in the spirit world who feels your pain every morning, every afternoon, and every night. And the pain of not being able to hold each other, love each other again on this plane of land for the time we're here. But I got a very strong message, because this feeling that I had felt very fresh, very, very raw. And it made me realize from then on that there is no such as a fresh, raw pain, because this person, this lady, had lost her husband 20 years ago. So it felt like it was yesterday. So the one thing I do understand about grief is that even in time, it doesn't always heal, because it still can feel like it was yesterday. But what I found really fascinating was I kept getting a message, and it's the only way I could break it down was, he's going to send you an earth angel to walk with. And when this happens, you must allow this earth angel into your life and allow this beautiful soul to take you out for a drink, a coffee, a chat, and in time grow in a relationship. And this lady was crying while I was saying it. And in time, trust and feel the love of this beautiful earth angel. And this is a gift given by your husband in the spirit world, who desperately wants you to feel love once again. And it's not a case of giving you permission to doing that. It's a case of, I want you to love the man that I see is perfect in all aspects for your life and for your path from here on. And she left, and she came back to see me about 3 months later, and she was having coffee mornings with a man that she met in the park. And she had coffee mornings. It was every Wednesday morning. It was like 9 o'clock, and they had coffee for half an hour. And I could see the difference. I could see the pain had gone, the grief had gone, and that was so beautiful. And she ended up marrying this person. I think I'd seen her for about 8 years, and I think on the 6th year they've seen her, she ended up marrying this man, and they lived happily ever after. And every time she came, he always said, he will never be me, but he is him. Meaning that you're never going to meet anybody like me, because I am me, but you're never going to meet anybody like him, because he is him. So love him for who he is, and love me for who I am. And I thought that was just, I mean, walking on this road with my dogs, thinking about this and feeling the love of spirit of how much they care for us, and to understand that there is no jealousy in the spirit world, and there's only accompanied comfort, protection, love, all the things that are important in this world. And isn't that beautiful? I just, that story wasn't isolated. It happened often. So the first thing I want to say is, if you've lost somebody, and it's somebody, first of all, I'd like to say, if you've lost somebody and it's a partner, all they want is for you to be happy, and they want you to love again. If you turned it the other way around, if you left the spirit world and you left your partner, and you watched every day that your partner lived in suffering without loving again, it makes complete sense to me that we would, in the spirit world, do this. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It's not about somebody loving you more. If you're in the spirit world, you're not going to be jealous of that. It's we love people in an individual way. So that was, to me, one of the most amazing things to move forward. So when we lose somebody that we love, there are like trigger moments. That could be a smell, it could be a song, it could be something that somebody says that reminds you of your loved one. Um, Signs that you know are just all around us all the time, and the thoughts that we have as reminders of a certain situation. However, I'd like to say that there's one particular overwhelming, for me, proof that your loved ones are by your side is when you simply have a thought from nowhere. So it's not like you were thinking about them for any reason, they just popped into your mind. And what I understood by that, and what I learned to understand, is that the world that we cannot see is a world that we can feel. And depending on what our energy is, whether it's heavy and dark and awful and sad and guilty because we never said what we needed to say before they went, and or whatever it may be, if it's any really heavy issue, it kind of covers the sensitive muscle inside you that is attuned to the spirit world and energy. So when you're happy, when you're at peace, when your mind's not going crazy all the time and it's filled with nonsense and everything, when you find your peace, sometimes you have just a thought that just comes over you when you're doing something that you doesn't relate to the person that you love. This is not a thought. This is not a thought. This is your loved one in the spirit world, very close to you, if not in your energy field. So, how do you know when it's a loved one in your energy field if they're not speaking to you because you're not clairvoyant, clairaudient, or clair whatever, right? You know they're there because you've just been aware of it, because you've just had a thought out of nowhere. There's no reason why a thought just comes out of nowhere. That is a real connection to the spirit world and to your loved ones in spirit who are very close and who are either thinking of you or who are next to you. So some of the things that relate to that, to me anyway, as a healer, is the touch on my, normally on just round about here. It feels like somebody just tapped me 3 times, and it could be either arm, and that's sometimes the spirit world does that. Some fascinating things that happened to me was at the beginning, I had an overall amazing feeling that just came over me, and that's the spirit world. It could be very, very subtle, and it could be just a pop of an ear. Why would you have a pop of an ear? Why would your ear pop? Yeah, I understand your ears pop when you're on an airplane or you're climbing up a mountain, driving up atop of a mountain. Your ears pop because of the difference in climate. I get that, but why would it just pop now? And why would you hear this very loud in your ear? And then it goes. Um, the hairs on your arms or back of your neck or your head, it feels like they're just standing up, and they are standing up, and or it feels like somebody just walked over your grave, we used to say. This is the connection of spirit next to you. That's their frequency and energy coming into yours. So sometimes it's nice to be aware of these things, which you won't be told at school. You won't be told by your father uh, you won't be told by a priest, sorry, in a church. You won't be told by nearly anybody. So these are the things that I realized when I was working with spirit. So the smells can just come from nowhere. Like, I just smell like a cigar. That's like my dad. This is an influence that can come through the spirit world. A song that plays, there's an influence through the spirit world. They influenced the DJ to play that music. If you ever listen to the Richie Allen show, he'll tell you he's a non-believer, but he said this happens too many times. Like, he'll play a record and somebody will say, "Oh my God, this is the record, and this is the day of my dad passing, or this is the day my dad's birthday in the spirit world, and this was his favorite record." I think a lot of this conversation, I think, is about making a decision in your life. If you have spent all your life being a non-believer, where has it got? That's a deep question. Where's it got you? Has it got you joy? You know, are you like my dad when my dad says, when my mum died, you just turned to dust. Where did it get him? Sad, miserable, depressed. Never believed that he would see her again. I didn't see him getting anywhere in life, only just getting on with life and getting up every morning and going to sleep, and no joy at all. So I guess if you've lost somebody, and you know what my dad feels like, because yeah, I haven't lost a wife, but I lost a mum, but I was too young to really understand it. Like, my brothers, which were 10 years older than me, and my dad. So I didn't feel it as bad, or maybe I knew that there's no such thing as death. And maybe what I could say is that if it hasn't really got you anywhere thus far, then why wouldn't you try the opposite of that? From today, why wouldn't you just say, okay, I've done the trying of non-believing. I mean, it's very easy. Why take somebody beautiful away when there's so many people who are horrible who live forever? There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as a spirit world. But there is. But there is. So all I ask is, why not just give it a try for 4 weeks? From this moment on, just say, okay, from now on, I'm going to believe that there is a spirit world. And that spirit world, like Mark says with his crazy tops, is not up there, but is actually around us all the time, just on a different frequency and vibration. And they're always with us all the time. And I'm going to believe that. And from today on, all the low feelings, all the pain, I'm going to put in a box and put it out of the way. And now I'm going to change my mindset, and I'm going to bring in some new thoughts and feelings. And those feelings are, every time I think of the person that I love, I am only going to think about the good things that we did. So today you can start to write those good things down as if you're writing a book. I want you to write down all their best qualities, their quirkiness, their weirdness, their strangeness, their grumpy moments, their fun moments, the things that you did which stood out, which made you laugh or cry, all the things, but the joyful things. But just start writing a book about them and about your journey together. This way creates the energy of you feeling them. And the more you think about them in the positive light energy way, the more you connect to them being next to you. And write it as a book, and through the day become a trainer at a gym that is really building their muscles up. But their muscles is all about the remembrance of all the things that you did that brought joy and laughter and fun and all the good things. By doing that, you're connecting to the spirit world all the time. So for me, I was very blessed because I never wanted to speak to spirit, but people were coming for a healing session or a reading. I had no choice but to connect with them because I was in the peace and silence, or I was in the attunement. So I got to do it organically. So it just organically happened for me. So how did it happen? Because I was there and we were talking about the good things, we were talking about the positive things, we were doing healing sessions and clearing the negativity away. So the third point I would suggest is, if you go for a healing session, find a good energy healer to clear. And the most powerful thing for me, and hopefully tonight we can start the process, is the center focus of the connection. And it's not really the pineal gland, it's actually the heart energy. And if you can work around the heart and blast that with very positive and powerful energy, you can then start to feel the spirit world through that. So I find that fascinating. I wrote a few pointers here about reversing the thought process, like, I'm never going to see them again. Change that to, they will be waiting as you move out of your body. And that is truth. I've been there and I have seen this process. So nobody can persuade me any different. Too many times, oh my God, my wife's here. Well, she will be. She'll be the first person that you see. The first person that you love is going to be there, and they're always there. And I'm sorry, but I don't listen to people who start talking about this false light. I've just no time for it. I'm sorry, I just don't, because it's never happened. I've always been there, and it's always the families. Oh yeah, but it's false. They're all evil. They didn't. Oh my God. You know the difference between evil and demonic and cheaters and liars. You feel that energy. It's horrible. If you're in a room and somebody's moving into the light and they're seeing their grandma or their mum or their partner, it's the most beautiful, powerful energy in the world. So don't ever say you're not going to see them again, because you will, and you are. Can't hold them again. We change that to, you merely need to close your eyes and feel their love around you. One of the most beautiful things to me was sitting by a tree, and this was in a spiritual sense. And I was in the company of a few people, and we were asked to close our eyes, and we found ourselves, however, the way we did it. But we were sat, and I found myself next to a huge tree, so big. And I remember Shirley saying, now just wait till somebody comes round the tree and holds you. And it was my mum. She came round the tree, and yeah, there's no words. There's no words, because I raised my energy, my spirit, to the spirit world, and the spirit world lowered its energy to my world. So we came together, and she held me, and I just cried, and the feeling of it, I can't explain the feeling. It was so beautiful. It was such a healing moment. It was so powerful, and yeah, that's happened a few times to me. So it's something that you can try, and it's called meditation, but it's kind of a guided meditation. You guide yourself to a place, and what more of a beautiful place to be by sat by a tree, which is so big, the tree trunk is so big that you can't see around it, and just sit and just wait for somebody to come. by that is you put it out there into the ether. You say, whoever wants to come can come, and you'll be surprised who comes round. It's beautiful, and it works. It works. Um, Never gonna be the same again without them. Again, the answer to that is they're always by your side, and you are never the same from any given moment anyway. The whole of your life from week to month to year changes. So whether you're with somebody for the rest of your life or not, you're still going to change. So a lot of people say that I'm never going to be the same again without them. You're never the same from day to day anyway, because you change all the time. So they're always by your side. So the change is inevitable, but they're always with you. Spirit is always there, always. You know, my mum died when I was 12 years old. If you were to ask me why she died, I would say to be able to help us knowing what we were all going to go through. I don't think my mum could have helped us all in this physical world, but in the spirit world, she could. And she did. And she does every day. The miracles that she's done to protect us in so many ways is a blessing that she was in the spirit world, because she wouldn't have been able to do it here in this world. Mine is just a case of that she works alongside me, or she did for many years when I was doing the psychic work and the healing work, and she was there nearly all the time. So people used to cry as soon as I started doing a one-to-one, a reading with them. And they'd finish, grown men crying, and they'd look at me, why did I cry? Why did I cry all the way through this? And I used to say, the tears are a sign of the heart opening. But I knew that it was my mum's energy around them, or it was their family and spirit around them, or it was my mum who made that moment happen, that connection. So she's a hard worker in the spirit world, just like your loved ones are. Grief is merely an energy that is created by our thoughts. So grief is really just something that we can use as a label, a box. But it really, missing somebody is an energy which is created by the mind. Depending on how your mind works, and if there's ever a full stop after a question asked, or after a story that you've created, or a memory that you've brought forward, then it will continue creating. And if it's creating something negative, like I said earlier, it will manifest an energy which I saw personally turn three of the most beautiful women that I ever met in my life to Alzheimer's. They all got Alzheimer's, and they refused point blank to ever give up mourning their partner. And I said, it's not healthy. And even though I used to connect to their husbands that pleaded to stop feeling this pain, they were programmed as children and growing up to believe that their love for their partner has to be shown in this way. And my grandma did the same thing. Same thing with my grandma. My mum died, and nobody should see their children die. But from that moment on, it tormented my grandma, who wore black from that moment on. And it didn't take many years before she was doing the most awful things. She was going into bins. She was just talking to herself all the time. She went literally insane. And we tried to help her. We tried to stop her doing these things, and she just wouldn't have any of it. And she tortured herself to the point that she could not function in this world, and she was lost thereafter. And three of my clients did the same thing. They refused. They came for readings, they were given the message, but they refused point blank to ever stop mourning their loved ones, because they felt that if they didn't, they would be doing a disservice. And I can tell you this wholeheartedly, it broke my heart, and it broke their husbands' hearts in the spirit world. Yeah, it's hard talking about it actually. Um, Healing, cleansing with sage, cleansing the body with Palo Santo, exercise, vital. You go for walks, and as you go for walks, you always think about the good times. And it's really nice to look for signs sometimes, just for fun. Speak to them and ask them for certain things. Give us a sign. Like I said to my mum yesterday afternoon. I said to my mum, she's behind me, she's above my head. She's there above my head, right? That's my mum in the spirit world. I said to her, I was walking on the beach, and I said, Mum, I said, give us another sign, will you? I said, what did I ask for? I said, oh yeah, give me a heart sign, or on a pebble. And within like 3 minutes, uh, I got a pebble. pretty pretty much like a heart. I'm like, wow, that's pretty beautiful. Thanks, Mum. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. You can see, can't you? I'm wholeheartedly no. You can feel me, right? Our loved ones are with us all the time. It's just that we stop it. We disbelieve. We sabotage that love and that connection. And shouldn't there be? Shouldn't that actually be part of our path, in the sense of not grieving, but having that connection like I have with my mum? What a beautiful connection, eh? Why shouldn't that be part of the journey? Like, I love you in this world, and I'm going to love you in the other world, and it's going to be just as strong. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. That is overcoming grief. But you won't be told that. Yeah, this one is the best thing. The best things that you remember that made you smile. I always, like, if I think of my mum now, what were the things that made me smile? Okay, the strangest and silliest things. We used to go to bingo together. I was only a little tiny boy, and we used to go to bingo, and I so looked forward to her buying pistachio nuts. And on the way back, we'd walk up in the dark, up the road to our house, Gledall Hill. And as we were walking up, and it was pitch black, she'd break wind, and she'd look round first. So I knew she was ready to have a break wind, right? And when she looks round, right, I'm laughing before she even does it, right? And we just used to giggle. That is what I'm talking about. The things that make you cry but laugh inside. The crying but laughter. Um, these are the things that kill um, grief. Um, I'd like to share a story that maybe some of you already know, because you might have read my book, but I'm hoping that there are one or two people on here who have never heard of me or any of my stories, and they are true, 100% true stories. Everybody in every one of my books are friends of mine. They took down my Facebook account, which had over 54,000 followers, and they took that away. So I had to create another one. So I've lost a lot of the people off my Facebook friends who were in my books, but every one of them were on my first original Facebook list account. So this story goes where it was just another day. I was fully booked, and it was probably mid-morning. It might have been 11 o'clock. And this lady came upstairs for a reading, and she sat down, and I could see she was quite nervous. And I smiled. I said, there's nothing to be nervous about. Everything that's being said today is out of love, and there is no fear here. There is no scaring you. There's no negative. It's all out of love. Everything is positive, and everything is, we're trying to find the answers and find solutions. So enjoy, right? And I smiled, and I put my hands over her hands, and I could feel her husband in spirit coming through straight away. It was really, really strong. And I thought, what a lovely man. And the first thing he said is, she's stubborn, right? So I smiled, and I didn't say anything, because that's not for me to say you're stubborn. But I continued, and I said, okay, I've got a lovely gentleman here. I can feel his energy. He's kind of sweet. As he's speaking to me now, I can hear his voice. It's pretty squeaky, and she's laughing, right? Huh, oh, And then I continued, and she's going, oh, Never said anything, just, oh, And when I finished, right, I thought I did a pretty good job. I thought so. I thought that was pretty accurate, because I could feel, I could even, name one of the clothings that he had on, and I explained there's like two golf clubs side by side, and the color was like, if I remember rightly, it wasn't yellow, but it was like a mustardy colored. And anyway, when I'd finished, there was no, oh, that was bullshit. None of that was true. She actually confirmed everything, and I'm like, I'm smiling, and then I was taken aback, because it's like, but I'd like to know he's here. Like, okay. I spent an hour telling you about him, and I said he's here, and yeah, but I need to feel him, and I just don't feel him, and I just don't know he's here, and I just want a sign. And I'm like, well, I thought everything that I've read is a pretty good sign, but obviously not. So I went, okay, let's try again then. So I put my hands over her hands, closed my eyes, and I said to Spirit, I said to him, and I said it out loud, please give us a sign. And it might have been in my head. I can't remember 100% if I said it out loud, but it might have been in my head. But the point being, the moment that happened, above me, there's a skylark, and it only opens about that much. I only lift it out to about that much, and it's above my head. So the light's shining down above my head. And it's countersunk, so the walls are here, and so anyway, there's bars in Spain. They have bars everywhere, so there's bars. As soon as I did that, this ring neck dove, it was a ring neck, it wasn't a pigeon, it was a ring neck dove, which we have in the village, there's loads of them, pushed itself through, right? Pushed itself in. This has never happened before, guys. Pushed itself in, right? And then sat on the metal bar. So I got up, and it didn't fly off. I put it in my hand, and I looked at her. She looked at it, and I went downstairs and opened the door carefully like this. And Susie looked at me when I was married to Susie then, and she said, what's that? And I said, don't ask. And I went outside and let it go. My heart was like, this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing that I've ever experienced. The synchronicity was so perfect. Can you imagine getting a bird to come in at that very moment, right? So I went upstairs, and I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'm looking at her, sat down, and she looks at me and she says, okay, can you get me that sign now? Could you give me that sign? And I realized at that point there's some people that there's nothing I can do unless he, you know, he presented himself in a real in his body again, like I don't know, Star Trek, and he materialized. Other than that, even if that happened, she'd probably say, "Well, he didn't speak, so can he talk to?" It's like there's never a point where certain people just cannot um, see the signs. They just can't see them. And then I realized it's not for me to try. It's not for me to try. It doesn't matter what you do. If somebody's not going to believe, they're not going to believe. So that was a great, valuable lesson. And I thought it's my favorite. It's got to be my favorite story. I mean, you've had to have done it to appreciate it. You'd have had to have gone through that specific. I mean, what is the chances out of a billion, a gazillion, for that to happen? There's just no explanation. But what a beautiful story to write in the book. I loved it. So um, these are just some of the stories I wanted to share over the 40 minutes, and then I'd like to now offer you, if it's okay with you, a pure energy healing session. It's something that I learned over the years through various beautiful souls that I work with, spiritual souls, Shirley, and shamans, and I just put it all together myself and was comfortable in the healing techniques that I use, and I still use them till this day. And all I do is come into your heart or come into the room and give that room good energy so that your family and spirit can feel you and touch you, and so you can feel them and touch them, and not just physically but spiritually. So I was told that the music really bothered people when I played it. So what I suggest tonight is that you all go and we either do it in silence, right? And because you don't need to do anything, all you need to do is either lie down somewhere comfortable or sit down. And when I've finished, I'll switch the sound back on and I'll just do that so that the healing session's over. So I am trying to listen to people as well. So maybe you can now switch your music on wherever you are, or just be in silence. I will do the work that I love to do, and that's healing. So all I ask you to do is find yourself a comfy seat or lay down, and whatever comes into your mind is fine. Whatever stays in your mind is fine. Whatever leaves your mind is fine. What I'm trying to say is that no matter what happens tonight, there's nothing that you can do that will stop this healing, this love coming into you, healing you tonight, whether it's grief or whether you're feeling down or whatever. It's your night. Out of the millions of people who are offering videos and talks, there's a reason why you're here. So I believe that, and I just ask you to believe that and be open enough just for these next 20 minutes to allow this healing to take place. So we'll begin, and I'm going to turn the sound off now and start. With all my heart, thank you for being here tonight. May the love of your family and spirit touch your soul, touch your heart, touch your shoulders, touch your head. May your body become accustomed to their energy and their love, so you feel their warmth around you. So I wish you all a lovely evening. Thank you for being here. I guess I'm always hesitant to even talk about things which are crystals because I'll be deemed a seller of crystals, but this is purely from my heart. Crystals that have helped. I've seen a huge difference of cleansing and clearing of suffering, the loss of a loved one, the grief, the pain, change by these crystals. So you may want to write these down and go to your local crystal store and just keep one on hand. Black tourmaline, Whitby jet, iolite, pink kunzite, petersite, cobalt calcite, Vera Cruz, green kyanite, tiger dendritic agate. Should I say black tourmaline? Black rutilated agate, a black rutilate, sorry. So those that are on here tonight and are still here and feeling the love and the healing from tonight, and those who simply have no money at all, they simply have no money to be able to buy a crystal, then please go to info@markbajerski.com and I'll choose the first 5 people and I will gift you one of those crystals that I've just mentioned from my website, from my heart to yours, from your loved ones at Christmas. That obviously that's why I've worked on them, because they're coming to you. And that will be my gift tonight out of love. That's it. I wish you all a lovely evening. Good night. God bless. And please don't ever forget, they're always by our sides. Always. Good night, everybody.